This story contains some incredibly disturbing information that viewers may find distressing. I've heard, studied, and researched hundreds upon hundreds of stories, and they are obviously all terrible. But people who study or research this area have to learn how to turn off their emotions in order not to become too emotionally invested. However, today's story was one of those ones that was quite hard for me to get through. Here is the story of a brave mother and her 3 beautiful children. G'day guys, welcome to Bedtime Crime, a channel dedicated to all things crime related. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Every subscriber is one more step to improving this channel. Let's get into today's story. This story takes us to Brisbane, Australia, and what seemed like just another Wednesday for Hannah Clarke and her 3 beautiful children, Aliyah, Liana, and Trey, would turn out to be a day that would show how unfair the world can be sometimes. Hannah Ashley Clarke was born on the 8th of September 1988. A beautiful soul, bright, bubbly, and full of empathy, as described by her mother. A woman who should have gone on to live a happy life with her children she loved and cared for so much. Children who are angels that were fathered by a monster. Hannah met Rowan Baxter in 2007 when she was just 19 years old. Rowan Baxter was 11 years her senior. He was athletic and played rugby league in his younger years. In 2011, they started their relationship and only a year later would get married. They went on to have 3 children. First, Aliyah, next, Liana, and their only boy, Trey. Hannah's love for her children was said to be more than can be put into words. Her children were what kept her going in life. However, the other part of her family were also hard to put into words. This story really is one of a strong woman caught in between light and dark. The relationship between Hannah and Baxter from the outside seemed normal. The two ran a CrossFit business together under the name Integrate. They were 2 extremely fit adults and also had 3 lovely children. Just by looking at the photo, most of us would assume that it is a happy, healthy family. Baxter, however, was a controlling, physically abusive, sexually abusive, verbally abusive, financially abusive, low-life monster. The uneasy feeling about Baxter started relatively early for Hannah's family. The mother, Sue Clarke, reported that she first didn't really like Baxter. However, eventually he grew on the family. But around the time of their second child, Liana, things started to take a nasty turn for the mother, and she noticed his lack of empathy. One day, while Hannah's mother was working out with Baxter, he dropped his mother-in-law on her face, which she ended up with a cut on her lip. His response wasn't to see if she was okay, but instead said, quote, "Harden up." Sadly, what Hannah's mother was experiencing at the gym was nothing compared to what Hannah was getting at home. As mentioned earlier, Hannah was experiencing several forms of abuse, both physical and non-physical. Baxter's way of thinking was a woman in a relationship is a possession that should be controlled, not a person who has their own life to lead, even in marriage. Hannah was unfortunately a part of the 1 in 6 women in Australia who had experienced domestic abuse. When the average person thinks of domestic abuse, most might think of physical violence, but in fact, the United Nations defines it as a pattern of behavior in any relationship that is used to gain or maintain power and control over an intimate partner. This includes any behaviors that frighten, intimidate, terrorize, manipulate, hurt, humiliate, blame, injure, or wound someone. Throughout their relationship, Baxter was a controlling husband, constantly monitoring her every move. Baxter would take her phone on many occasions. He would go through it and monitor who she was speaking to. He would call her many times throughout the day to see what she was doing and who she was with. He would check her Facebook account and then accuse her of cheating if there were any messages from other men. Hannah was also forced not to wear certain types of clothes. When she went to the gym, she was not allowed to wear short shorts. When she was at the beach, she had to cover her bikini up once she left the beach. She was also not allowed to wear the color pink. As he said, it's a color for children. But most likely because pink is quite an attractive color on the eye. Therefore, men might notice her more easily. Hannah was a physically attractive woman anyway, by traditional social standards. She was also very healthy and had an attractive figure from working out so much. However, to constrict her even more, Baxter would call her a fat pig. Baxter would also bully her into having sex every night, even when she doesn't feel in the mood to. And if she did manage to fight him off, he was supposed to be very grouchy and sulky. He also would threaten to kill himself when things weren't going his way. It's incredible that Hannah was able to last as long as she did from this monster. But it got so bad that Hannah eventually had enough. And in late 2019, Hannah and her 3 children moved out of Hannah's house and into Hannah's parents' house in Camp Hill. Where this in many ways was a positive for Hannah and the children, it would be the start of a man who was already a monster and push him beyond his breaking point. Due to the separation, Hannah had to change her life. Hannah decided to close the CrossFit gym that she co-owned with Baxter in December 2019. Hannah began working at a sports shoe store in Cardinal to support her 3 children. However, wherever she went, she feared for her life, often telling friends and family how unsafe she felt and that something bad was going to happen. Though she was once living under the roof with this monster, her anxiety seemed to have gotten worse after leaving Baxter. Even though they were separated, Baxter still wanted to control the situation. It was advised by Baxter's lawyer to sign a consent order offered by Hannah, allowing him 165 days of custody a year. Baxter angrily refused this offer despite the advice given to him. A parenting agreement was signed that gave Baxter the same level of access to the children, but was technically not legally binding. On the 26th of December 2019, or Boxing Day known in Australia, both Baxter and Hannah made plans so that Baxter could see the children. Baxter met with Hannah and the children at a car park in Brisbane. When he asked about having the kids stay with him, Hannah said that would not happen without a court order. This aggravated Baxter and he grabbed his daughter Liana and put her in his car. He then fled to Pottsville in New South Wales. Luckily, they were found 4 days later and Liana was returned unharmed back to Hannah. From here, Baxter was subjected to a domestic violence order, or DVO. A DVO is also known as a protection order and can protect you from others by legally making a person be of good behavior and not commit domestic violence. But this was not enough to keep Baxter away or even to stop his abuse. Though Hannah was going through this extremely stressful period of her life, she still managed to find the time to do what she loved, which was working out. Hannah started going to a new CrossFit gym. She wanted to stay far away from Baxter as possible, so she only kept the location on the down low. However, only a day after Hannah started training at the gym, Baxter tried to get a job as the trainer there. This wasn't a coincidence. Hannah's family believed that Baxter was able to hack Hannah's phone, keeping a close eye on her from far. This is how he was supposed to have found out where she started working out. The interviewer for Baxter on the day recalled a strange interaction between him and Baxter. After the interview was finished, Baxter asked for a photo with the interviewer in front of the gym. Baxter later uploaded it to social media, saying something around the lines of, "Start working with CrossFit Brisbane tomorrow," in the captions. This was obviously a technique used by Baxter to terrorize Hannah. However, the truth was that Baxter didn't get the job at the gym. His story was already circulating around the gym, and the interviewer decided not to hire Baxter. All this rejection must have damaged Baxter's already diminishing psychological state. He was jobless, living off friends, and unable to see his children. Problems that he, himself, created. The whole Clarke family started to feel so unsafe in their own house. Hannah's father installed locks on the gates and anywhere they could, just so Baxter couldn't get in. It was reported that one day in early 2020, there was an incident in the front yard of Hannah's parents' house. Baxter grabbed Hannah's wrist and twisted her arm. Police were called and she was directed to the Brisbane Domestic Violence Centre. But at this point, Hannah was more scared than she has ever been. Around this time, Hannah asked her mum, "When he kills me, he'll be in jail, and what happens to the children?" She also told her friend, "I know in my heart he's going to kill me." Meanwhile, Baxter, on an angry night, wrote a letter to Hannah that would never reach her. In the letter were things like, "I'm going to finish your game. I don't want to play it anymore. You can't fuck with someone's life like this and expect them to take it. I have told the kids that you love them. They will miss you, I'm sure." Wednesday, February 19th, 2020. Baxter asks his aunt if he could borrow her car. Something reported very strange and even out of character for someone like Baxter. Baxter is spotted at a service station filling up a jerry can with fuel. At around 8 a.m, Baxter arrives in front of Hannah's parents' house on Raven Street in Camp Hill. He waits for her there, knowing she has to take the kids to school. At 8:20 a.m, Baxter forces his way into the white Kia Sportage. In the car is Hannah and their 3 children. He pulls out a knife he has with him and puts it to Hannah's throat and tells her to drive. Let's spare a thought for the kids who were sitting in the back witnessing this. They were all younger than 7 years old. It's heartbreaking and terrifying to imagine what they were feeling at the time. Hannah doesn't drive very far before Baxter douses Hannah and the 3 children with the fuel he bought earlier. Hannah notices a man outside washing his car. She screams, "Call the police, call the police. He's trying to kill me. He's put petrol on me." The man washing his car sees Hannah screaming out for help and trying to escape. However, Baxter has her in a bear hug. Baxter then sets the car alight. Neighbours hear several explosions coming from the street. Both Hannah and Baxter make it out of the car alive. Her children do not. Bystanders rushed to the scene and tried their best to put out the flames. However, Baxter used his knife to try and stop the people who were trying to help. He then knew there was no way out of the sickening crime he had just committed. He then stabs himself and dies at the scene. Hannah was heard screaming, "Where are my babies? Where are my kids? My babies are in the car. My children are in the car. Why didn't I just stay in the car with them? I can't believe he's done this. I got a DVO." Hannah had suffered 97% of burns to her body. She was able to remain conscious until paramedics and police came to the scene. When the police arrived, despite the amount of pain and suffering she was experiencing, she was able to give a detailed description of the attack. "She was incredibly brave," said Senior Constable Skanes, an officer there on the day. It was reported that she knew her children had died, and she didn't want to survive without them. She was sedated by paramedics to ease the pain and rushed to the Royal Brisbane Hospital. However, later that evening, Hannah died succumbing to her injuries. Though extremely excruciating, it is somewhat poetic that all Hannah wanted was to be with her kids. And she was, always, in life and now in death. Hannah's family established the foundation Small Steps for Hannah in honour of her and 3 children. The aim of the charity is to put a halt to the incidences and severity of domestic and family violence in Australia. If you would like to donate to the Small Steps for Hannah Foundation, please visit their website. Also, if you or someone you know are a victim to domestic violence, please seek help. You're not alone in this situation. Thank you for watching Bedtime Crime. Please leave a like and subscribe to support the channel. We'll see you on the next story.